Yep, here it is. Here's another one. Find an odd one out here then. Perfect, here it is. How about this one? Right here. Did you find it? And it's getting harder. What about the odd one out here? Look, it's this one. All the other hands are the right ones, and this one is the only left hand. Now I'll show you two pictures. Your task is to find 5 differences between them. Ready? Here they are. How many did you spot? Let's do it one more time. Find 5 differences here. Keep your eyes wide open. So did you manage to do it? I think you're now prepared for more hardcore tasks. Let's start with decoding. Detective Callum has been searching for a missing girl, Riley, for 3 weeks. He was in his office going through the case for the 100th time when he got an anonymous email saying, "Can you guess what's written here?" It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "The girl is in a hidden room beneath the Central Cafe. Bring $500 and I will tell you the passcode." Someone robbed a bank, and Detective Callum was leading the investigation. There were 2 robbers, but the police managed to catch only one of them, Dante. Dante refused to name his accomplice, but the police had 3 suspects, Bree, Ivory, and Ronan. Detective Callum took a brief look at them and knew exactly who the second robber was. Who was it, and how did he know? It's Ivory. Look, she has the exact same tattoo on her wrist as Dante. Holland went to work and asked her boyfriend, Kyler, to walk the dog. Kyler agreed, but then his friend called him and suggested to come over to play a new video game. So, Kyler decided to skip the dog walk and went straight to his friends. Holland and he met right outside the house when they were both going back home. Kyler said that he'd walked the dog and then went to play with his friend. But Holland knew that he was lying. How? It's winter. So just look at the footprints. There are Holland's footprints on the snow going both ways, and Kyler's footprints going both ways too, but there are no footprints of the dog. Someone in a little town was stealing bicycles. Every time someone's bike was stolen, the owner would find a business card with 2 emojis printed on it. The police had 3 main suspects, Ocean Walker, Rebecca Smith, and Damian Jones. Who is the robber? The emojis signify the name. They are a wave and a person walking, so the robber must be Mr. Ocean Walker. On Wednesday, after a break, Nash came to his desk and found a short love note written in red ink. It wasn't signed, but Nash had 3 girls in mind, so he asked each of them if she had written him the note. Layla said that she'd been chatting with her friends and didn't write any notes. Dawn said that she was busy all break finishing her homework. Oakley said that she had been in the bathroom and had just come back. Who do you think wrote the note? Look, Oakley's hands are covered in ink. It's blue ink, but still. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Adley was kidnapped and woke up in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but they all looked dangerous. Behind one door, there were many little robots that were ready to attack her. Behind the second door, there were 3 trained tigers. Behind the third door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Which way should Adley choose to get out safely? The best choice must be the first door. Although they're robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause her much harm. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone had stolen all the money from the cashier's desk. A cook said that he was working in the kitchen and didn't have any free time. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't see anything. The waiter said that there was a suspicious visitor peeking around. Who do you think stole the money? The restaurant was still closed and there couldn't be any visitors, so the waiter must have lied and is probably guilty. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not to let suspicious people or folks under 21 in. Take a look at ID cards and help him decide if he can let each visitor in or not. Here's the first one. What do you think? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, here's the next visitor. What do you say? June 31st does not exist. There are just 30 days in June, so nope. What about this guy? Something is wrong once again. Even though February 29th theoretically exists, there was no February 29th in 1977. It's every year that can be divided by 4. Okay, what do you think about this girl? I don't see anything suspicious about her. Here's another candidate for the club. What do you think? Well, he is 22, and he seems fine to me. Let him in. A student was having an oral chemistry exam and was struggling with his last task. His professor decided to help him and have some fun, so he said that instead of the task, the student could guess his daughter's name. He only had one guess, but there was a hint. He wrote down several numbers: 32, 10, 14, 16. What's the professor's daughter's name? It's a chemistry class and chemistry professor, so there must be something related to chemistry. Look, there's even a periodic table in the background to help you. The 32nd element is germanium, or Ge, and the 10th one is neon, or Ne, and the 14th one is silicon, or Si, and finally, the 16th element is sulfur, or S. Together, they form the name Genesis. A bank was robbed, but they couldn't find the robber. A week later, at night, Detective Callum woke up from a call from a local shop's owner. He said that he found the money under his terrace. Detective Callum arrived, but there was only half of the money stolen. The man said that he had seen a man by his shop a week ago. It was a full moon, so he could see that the man had red hair and was wearing a dark hoodie. Still, the shop owner was arrested. Why? The shop owner said it was a full moon a week ago, but look, it's a full moon right now, so the man must be lying about something. In history class, students were asked to prepare a presentation about their ancestors. Edwin told about his great-great-grandpa who moved to New York and started as a salesman and then built a huge business. He even showed a photograph of his young grandpa in New York, but no one believed Edwin's story. Why? Even though the picture is black and white and looks old, old New York looks very much like modern New York, with dozens of skyscrapers. The class noticed and figured out that it definitely wasn't a real photo. Royce called the police and reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Royce to tell exactly what happened. Royce said that he had walked into his room and saw someone getting out of the window. It was still open because Royce didn't care to close it or touch anything before the police arrived. He checked his wardrobe and found that his savings had been stolen. Detective Callum closed the case. Why? The robber couldn't go out the window without stepping on the bed, but the bed is perfectly made, so it looks like no one was leaving through the window. Kaya was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the desk. When she returned, she found that her wallet had been stolen. She called the police and they interrogated the 3 students who were also in the library. Andre said that he had left the library right after Kaya to get a drink from the vending machine and hadn't touched any of her things. Poppy said that she was studying the whole time and not paying attention to anything. Rhea said that she was in the other part of the library looking for a book she needed and hadn't seen anything suspicious either. Who stole the wallet? It was Andre. He said that he had left to get a drink in a vending machine, but look, there's no drinks in the vending machine, only snacks. A young man named Colton was living with his best friend Cassidy. One morning, he called the police because Cassidy wasn't breathing. He said that he'd been working all day and had returned home late, so he hadn't seen her or talked to her for over a day. In the morning, he found her in bed like that. Last night, Cassidy had a headache and had to take many pills, so maybe that was the reason. Colton was immediately arrested. Why? Colton obviously didn't communicate with Cassidy, but he still somehow knew what she was doing in the evening. He must have come up with all of it, as he is probably guilty. Joshua and Jeremy were going on a hiking trip to Adventure Mountains. They were about to leave their room to catch their train, but there's something wrong here. Can you spot the oddity? Well, they're going hiking, but Joshua is wearing shiny business shoes. Those will be too slippery on the mountains. Once they arrived at the train station, Jeremy realized that he had forgotten the tickets. They went to the ticket sales booth to explain their situation. The salesman told them he might be able to give them new tickets, only if they could answer his riddle correctly. I stand tall, yet I never walk. With rocky peaks, I love to talk. Above the clouds, my head does rise. What am I that touches the skies? Can you figure out the answer? It's a mountain. During the train ride, Joshua and Jeremy were enjoying the beautiful scenery from the window. But then, suddenly, Jeremy screamed. Can you tell why? Take a look at the birds flying in the distance. Were you able to spot the small dragon flying with them? Well, Jeremy did. Joshua and Jeremy finally arrived at their destination. Before they started climbing up, they wanted to make sure their water bottles were full for the entirety of the hike. They saw 3 different drinking fountains from where they could fill their bottles. Take a look at them and tell me which ones they should pick.
If you look closer at the first fountain, you can see a snake's tongue sticking out in the water flowing from the fountain tap. That's gross. And the second fountain's water has a slightly yellow hue. That's a no from me, so they should pick the third fountain. Jeremy and Joshua were finally ready to begin their hike. There were 3 different hiking trails they could follow. They wanted to choose the longest trail to be able to spend more time on the mountain. Take a look at the hiking trail map. You have 10 seconds to tell me which trail is the longest. It's the second trail. During their hike, Jeremy wanted to take some photos for his social media account, so they decided to go off-path, deep into the forest. But suddenly, an elf stopped them and said,
I am the guardian of this forest. I won't allow you to walk any further. Unless you know the answer to this riddle. I have cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and rivers but no water. What am I?
Do you know the answer? It's a map. It became dark before Jeremy and Joshua could get back on the hiking trail. They decided to spend the night in the forest, just in case. Can you help them pick which tree they should build their tent under? Do you see the snake hole here next to the second tree? The consequences would be disastrous if they built their tent above it. And as for the third tree, there's a bee's nest on one of the branches, so it wouldn't be wise to pick that one. That's why they should pick the first tree. After completing their adventure and returning to their hotel room, Jeremy and Joshua started comparing the photos they had taken. But Joshua noticed that there were 5 differences in the photos they took at the same place. Take a look at them both here. Can you spot them? In the first photo, the mountaintop view is covered with snow, but that's not the case in the second photo. Secondly, the logo that Jeremy's t-shirt has in the first photo is different in the second photo. Thirdly, in the second photo, a pair of glowing eyes can be seen in between the trees, which doesn't exist in the first photo. Creepy. As for the fourth difference, in the first photo, Joshua is holding 2 of his trekking poles. But in the second photo, he's only holding 1. And lastly, in the first photo, there are 2 cable cars riding to the top of the mountain. But in the second photo, there's only 1. Arya's favorite pop star, Peyton Swiftly, was coming to town to give a concert, and Arya really wanted to go. Unfortunately, tickets were sold out very fast, and Arya couldn't get one. However, after one of the ticket buyers returned their ticket, the ticket website announced they would give the ticket for free to the person who knew the answer to this riddle. I'm full of keys, but I can't open any locks. What am I? Can you help Arya out? The answer is a piano. Elsa was working at the HR department, and she was going to interview 3 candidates for the company's project manager position. But as soon as Elsa greeted them, she noticed that one of them was not human. Can you tell who? It's the second guy. He's not blinking at all. 2 pregnant ladies attended the pregnancy yoga class at the gym. But as they were preparing for the class, the yoga instructor noticed that one of them was actually a robot working undercover to study humans. Can you guess who? The second lady is holding an inflatable fitness ball. The weight indicated on the ball is probably just a joke because air cannot weigh that much. Meanwhile, the first lady broke the scales. She's very petite despite being pregnant. If she was a human, her weight wouldn't be able to break these scales. Brandon finally convinced his dad to give money to him to go camping with his friends, with only one condition. He wanted Brandon to send him a photo from the camping trip every day. But the first day he sent him a photo, his father could tell that Brandon lied to him, and he didn't go camping at all. How did he know? Brandon clearly photoshopped himself because everyone else in the photo has shadows, but Brandon doesn't. It was Annabelle's mother's birthday, and she wanted to place a secret gift in her mother's office as a surprise. But when she arrived there, unfortunately, the office door was locked. But luckily, her mom was kind of forgetful, and that's why she left a note with a hint for herself. Take a look at it. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There are 3 lines in the letter K. There are 2 lines in the letter L. There are 4 lines in the letter E, and there is only 1 line in the letter I. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in M, 2 lines in V, 3 lines in Z, and 3 lines in F. That makes the combination 4, 2, 3, 3. Casey wanted a new hobby for herself, so she decided to learn knitting and crocheting. She went to the crafting store to buy supplies. For her beginner's project, she needed to buy a green yarn, size 7 knitting needles, and a pattern book. Take a look inside the store. Can you help her find all these items? Here's the green yarn, here are the number 7 knitting needles, and here is the pattern book. Jackson went hiking in the woods, but when his cell phone ran out of battery, he couldn't use his navigation and got lost. He walked for hours and started to feel exhausted and hungry. Luckily, he finally came across a farmhouse with lots of apple trees. He wanted to pick an apple and rest there while he ate it. But then, suddenly the owner of the farm stopped him and said,
"This is private property. You're stealing my fruits. But I'll let you eat that apple if you can answer my riddle correctly. I can fly without wings. I can cry without eyes. Wherever I go, darkness follows me. What am I?"
The answer is a cloud. I know something that will wake your brain up better and faster than coffee. Yep, it's time to find your magnifying glass.
Oh my god.
Look at this picture attentively. What's wrong here? Each of these 4 people has a slice of pizza in their hands, but only 3 pieces are missing from the pizza box. You have 3 jars that are all mislabeled. One jar contains apples, another contains oranges, and the third jar contains a mixture of both apples and oranges. You are allowed to pick as many fruits as you want from each jar to fix the labels on them. What is the minimum number of fruits that you have to pick, and from which jars to correctly label them?
Yeah.
Let's look at this scenario. You pick a fruit from the jar labeled apples and oranges, and you get an apple. That means that the jar should be labeled apples. Now, the jar labeled oranges has to be labeled apples and oranges. As it can't contain oranges, and we've already got the apples jar, a similar scenario applies if it's an orange you take out of the jar labeled apples and oranges. So, you just need to take one fruit from the jar, apples and oranges, to label all the jars correctly. A farmer once challenged an engineer, a physicist, and a mathematician to fence off the largest amount of area using the least amount of fence. The engineer shaped his fence like a large circle and said it was the most efficient way. The physicist made a long line and said that fencing off half of Earth was the best. The mathematician laughed at them and showed his design, which beat the others. What did he do? The mathematician made a small circular fence around himself and declared himself to be on the outside. Every day after work, Jack arrived at the train station at 5 p.m. His wife left home in her car to meet him there at exactly 5 p.m., picked him up, and drove him home. One day, Jack got to the station an hour early and started walking home. He was walking until his wife picked him up along the way. They got home 30 minutes earlier than usual. How long was he walking? The best way to think about this problem is to consider it from the perspective of the wife. Her round trip was decreased by 30 minutes, which means each leg of her trip was decreased by 15 minutes. It means that Jack must have been walking for 45 minutes. Logan is a special agent who's trying to catch a notorious villain. After long months of investigation, he finds the criminal's headquarters. But the door is locked, which is not a surprise really. Logan sees a screen next to the entrance. He touches it, and the display lights up. It must be a riddle. And our special agent needs to solve it to get inside. Add one line to make it right. 9.50 equals IOIOIO. Logan cracks the puzzle in no time. What's the answer? $9.50 equals IOTOIO. The door opens and the man steps into a dark corridor. After walking for some time, Logan notices another door. A code lock again! The man also spots a calendar hanging on the wall. At the bottom, there are several letters, M, F, W. After connecting the dots, the special agent figures out the code. What is it? It's 153. The letters stand for the days of the week: Monday, Friday, and Wednesday. Monday is the first day, Friday is the fifth, and Wednesday is the third one. Oh yeah. Look at these two families. Which one is fake? What do you think? Well, the family on the right has weird dietary habits. They allow their son to eat the whole cake on his own. But maybe they just don't care about healthy eating. The family on the left, though, seems to be perfectly fine. But have you spotted a USB port covered by the necklace the mother of the family is wearing? She's a robot, and all this family thing is just a joke. Now, look at these prisoners. Who is more likely to escape? Gotcha! Neither of them. The one on the right will be stopped by the prison guard, while the one on the left will end up face to face with these pretty unfriendly dogs. How about these girls? Which one lacks common sense? That was another tricky question. Both of them aren't the brightest bulbs in the chandelier. The one on the left is going to post a photo of her credit card on her social media. And the one on the right is going to share the details of her ID and plane ticket with her followers. That's incredibly unsafe.
Oh my God!
It was the first day of school when the principal's wallet went missing. There were 3 suspects: the gardener, the math teacher, and the coach.
Oh no!
Here's what they said. The gardener was mowing the front lawn. The math teacher was checking the surprise test he'd given his students. And the coach was meeting new people who wanted to join the school's soccer team. Who took the wallet? It was the math teacher. No one gives surprise tests on the first day of school. Look at these women. Can you figure out which one isn't pregnant? It's the woman on the right. Her belly is strangely shaped, and something seems to be moving under her clothes. Ugh, creepy. One day, the emperor asked his general what he should choose if he was offered either justice or a lot of gold. "I'd choose the gold," the general answered without hesitation. The emperor was taken aback.
Oh.
"I would have been disappointed even if this was the choice of a servant," the emperor said. "But coming from you, it's not only disappointing but also shocking and sad." But the general justified his answer to the enraged and hurt emperor without a problem. What did he say? He said that people asked for what they didn't have. "Under your majesty's rule," he then added, "justice is available to everybody, but I am a spendthrift and always short of money. That's why I said I would choose the gold." The answer pleased the emperor, and his respect for the general was restored. The police arrived at a ski resort early in the morning. At night, someone attacked the manager of the hotel, and he was taken to a hospital, still unconscious. The police suspected 3 people, Laura, James, and Arthur, who had arrived the day before. The officers inspected their rooms, and here's what they found. Look at these things attentively and try to understand who attacked the manager. It was Arthur. Look, he doesn't have any warm clothing, which means he didn't come for skiing. Allison is a big boss in an international company. One day, she's hurrying to an important meeting when she notices the documents she needs haven't been printed out, but she's asked at least 3 of her subordinates to do it. Ian says he's just returned from the supermarket because they've run out of coffee beans. Robert claims he's been terribly busy drafting a new contract. And Alice answers she's been in the kitchen preparing snacks and making coffee for the meeting. Who's actually forgotten about the task and is making up excuses at the last moment? It's Alice. There's no coffee in the office. Then how could she make it? Rich businessman Mr. Hudson had a serious disease and was staying at the best hospital in the city. He was treated with pills invented by a scientist working in that hospital. Mr. Hudson was feeling better and better and was getting ready to be discharged. But then, one morning, he was found in critical condition. The police had 4 suspects: the cleaner, the businessman's nurse, his assistant, and the scientist. The cleaner said that Mr. Hudson liked when his room was tidy, so she came every day to clean it. The nurse said that she gave Mr. Hudson's injections every morning, and they had even become friends. The scientist was very upset.
His disease was complicated, but we've made such progress. And today, this happened.
And the assistant answered that her boss asked her to bring his favorite sweets every day. And she did just that. Can you figure out who caused the worsening of Mr. Hudson's condition? It was the nurse. Mr. Hudson was treated with special pills. What injections is she talking about?
What?
Harrison was walking home when someone threw something at him and knocked the guy out. When he came round, he found himself in a room with 4 doors and a tiny window. Harrison opened the window, but it was too small for him to squeeze through. Suddenly, the guy spotted a piece of paper lying on the floor. It was a note that said, "Only one door leads outside. The other 3 doors don't lead anywhere. You can try to open just one door and only once. If you don't succeed, all of them will be locked forever."
Oh.
Harrison thought for a while and made the right choice.
Yeah.
How did he figure out which door was the one he needed? He opened the window. This created a draft. The guy checked the keyholes and felt some cool air coming from one of them. It was the door to freedom. Detective Sheldon Copper was resting at a beach resort when an unpleasant accident happened there. Someone pushed elderly Mrs. Stevenson into the swimming pool when there was no one around. But this someone didn't know the lady was once the best swimmer at her university, and she never stopped practicing. So it wasn't difficult for her to cross the swimming pool and get out of it at the other side. Sheldon asked the lady if she had seen the attacker. She didn't, but she was sure it was someone who knew she'd just received a huge inheritance. The detective needed to talk to 3 people. They were Mrs. Stevenson's son, Terry, her granddaughter, Gloria, and her niece, Judy. Terry said, "These days, I've been very busy. Something urgent came up at work. I don't even have time to leave my room to go for breakfast or dinner." Gloria asked Sheldon to keep her secret. She was seeing a waiter she had met at a beach cafe. If her relatives found out, they would be furious. And Judy told Sheldon she'd taken a car to go shopping in the city center. Who's lying? Terry. The man looks sunburned. But how can it be if he hasn't left his room for days? Jaden bought a beautiful ring for his girlfriend. He wanted to propose to her at the weekend. He left the ring on his desk at home and went to work. But when he got back in the evening, he didn't find the ring. Only his 3 sisters were at home that day, and none of them liked his girlfriend. He went to question each of them. Mia was in her room. She said she'd spent the whole day there painting the walls. Emily was in the kitchen. She answered that she'd been cooking a birthday cake for her friend. And the youngest, Nora, was in the garden. She said she'd been planting roses. It didn't take Jaden long to figure out who had taken the ring. Do you know who it was? It was Nora. She looks too tidy for a person who was supposedly spending the entire day in the garden.
What?
Plus, she doesn't have any gardening tools. The best player of Julian's volleyball team disappeared right before the game. Julian's main suspects were 3 players from the rival team. Jackson said, "I've just returned from the gym. I was warming up before the competition." Leo had to pick up his wife and daughter from the hospital, and Ryan claimed he'd fractured his leg. And the team doctor was giving him a massage. Who's behind the player's disappearance? It's Ryan. Getting a massage when your leg is broken? Really? Can you figure out the answer to this rebus riddle? The answer is summary. Amber's husband, Carl, is an artist. Can you guess which one of these ladies is Amber? It's the lady in the middle. She has the same paint stains on her clothes as Carl has on his jeans. Carl gets an invitation to visit a mysterious fortune teller, Morgana. She has built a maze so that only smart people could reach her house. Which one of these routes should Carl choose? Only the first path will take him to the final destination. Morgana treats Carl with a welcome drink. Only one of these 3 drinks is safe. Can you guess which one? The first drink. There's a human tooth inside the second glass, and there are too many flies around the third drink, so it's probably not fresh. Morgana says,
"I've got a surprise for you. People put it on the table but never eat it. What is it?"
"Can you guess?" The correct answer is a pack of cards. Carl gets his brand new pack of cards. Morgana offers him a mind game. From the pack of 52 cards, she places 4 cards on the table face down and gives Carl 4 clues about the card. Card on the left cannot be greater than the card on the right. The difference between the first card and the third card is 8. There's no single ace among these 4 cards. Also, there are no face cards. And finally, the difference between the second and the fourth card is 7. Can you help Carl guess the values of all 4 cards? Alright, let's put everything on the table. The task was to guess the value, so we can pay no attention to the suits. The first card has to be 2, and the third card has to be 10. There's simply no other way the difference can be 8. The first and the fourth clues reveal that the fourth card can only be 10. And, thanks to clue 5, we know that the second card amounts to 3. So here's the correct answer. Carl successfully solves the riddle. Morgana is impressed. She says,
Now that I see you deserve my gift, I will give you a magic amulet that will turn you into the richest artist. These 3 tunnels lead to the room where the treasure is hidden. You must choose wisely if you want to stay safe.
there's a rhino cuddling her calves in the first tunnel. The second tunnel is filled with gas, which is fatal for any insect. There are thousands of venomous snakes crawling around the third tunnel. Which way is more or less safe? The second one. Nobody said that the gas is dangerous for humans. The next day, Carl feels sick and goes to the hospital. He meets these 3 women in the lobby. Can you find a doctor's wife among them? Take a look at the poster. This doctor is a dentist. The first lady is his patient. And the third one is his colleague, so the second lady is his wife. 3 doctors approach Carl, but one of them is fake. Can you guess who? Take a look at this guy's badge. There's a female picture and a name on it, so he's probably an imposter. The doctor invites Carl to his lab. Can you help him find these 3 items? Here they are. In the evening, Carl arrives home. He spots 5 weird things about this place right away. Can you see them too? The house number is hanging upside down. This raccoon is talking on a cell phone. The bicycle is moving without a rider. This lantern doesn't have a lamppost and floats in the air by itself. And finally, these flowers in the garden are blooming in the middle of winter. Carl enters his house. Surprise! His friends prepared a secret party for his birthday. Everything goes well, but suddenly the lights turn off for 30 seconds. When the power is back again, Carl sees that someone has sneaked his lucky amulet from his neck. He questions 3 suspects. Rick says, "I was cooking snacks in the kitchen. The light turned off so suddenly." Bella says, "I was in the middle of a chess game when the power turned off." And Ren says, "I've been dancing in the living room for the last 30 minutes, and the dark didn't stop me." Who's lying? Bella. She said she was in the middle of her game, but all chess pieces are standing in their initial positions. Bella escapes with the amulet and flies away to Seychelles with her boyfriend Josh. Can you guess which one of these guys is Josh? The second guy. He's lying on her beach wrap. Bella is watching a boxing match on TV. It's a friendly match between 2 heavyweights, which consists of 12 rounds, but it was finished after the 7th round because the boxer knocked out the other one. But during the match, no man threw even a single punch. How can this be possible? Easy. It was between two female boxers. In the hotel, Bella has only 3 neighbors on her floor. One of them is turning into a zombie. Can you guess who? This lady. It's hot. Why is she wearing a warm scarf? Bella leaves her hotel room to get some ice. 2 minutes later, she returns and finds out that someone had broken in. How did she know? When she was leaving, the balcony door was opened and now it's locked. It was Carl who robbed Bella. He just took back his amulet and ran away to the roof. Unfortunately, now he's trapped on the roof of the hotel building. It's 200 feet high. There's a hook on the roof and another hook 100 feet down from it. Carl finds a 150-foot-long rope and a sharp knife. How can he climb down safely? Carl should cut the rope into 2 parts, 50 and 100 feet. Then make a knot at the end of the shorter rope and put the longer one through it. Then he should slide down the ropes and untie the longer rope to be able to use it again with the second hook. Carl uses his lucky amulet and his art becomes super famous. One day, he receives a phone call from the police. They arrested a group of criminals who tried to sell illegal copies of Carl's artwork. They confiscated 3 paintings. Carl said that one of them is original. Can you guess which one? The first painting is a mirrored version of the original work. The second one has a barely visible handprint. Therefore, only the third painting is original. Carl exhibits a huge collage in a gallery. Can you spot any outstanding images? This guy over here. Carl goes to the gym for a morning workout. He sees something weird and freaks out. Can you spot what's wrong? A huge spider is crawling out of the ventilation. Carl puts his bags in a locker before going to the gym shower. He locks it and takes the key with him. He hangs the key on a hook together with his towel. After bathing, Carl finds out that someone had stolen the key and robbed his locker. He questions 3 suspects, but all of them say they were taking a shower and didn't see anything. Who is lying? The third guy. Take a look at his feet. They're too dirty for a man who has just taken a shower.
Dustin is a widowed man living alone in his house. One day, the doorbell rang. Dustin went up to open his door, and right there she was, his wife. How's it possible? I hope you kept your eyes wide open for this one. Look, there's a photo of Dustin and his wife on the wall. His wife has a birthmark on her cheek. The woman that just appeared doesn't have it, so it must be Dustin's wife's twin sister. Dylan was grounded, and he wasn't allowed to meet even his girlfriend for a week. One evening, when Dylan's mom returned home from work, she found Dylan in his room and asked him if he'd met anyone that day. Dylan said that he'd been at home, studying all day. His mom didn't believe him. Why? Look, there's a lipstick stain on his neck. I'm pretty sure his girlfriend came over for a short visit. Another grounded teenager, Eslyn, wasn't allowed to see any of her friends for 2 weeks after failing her history test. One night, her mother had a night shift and only returned home next afternoon. She came to check on her daughter, and she knew immediately that Eslyn had a friend over for a sleepover. How did she figure it out? Examine Eslin's room carefully. 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 forks. She wasn't the only one eating dinner in her room last night. And she wasn't smart enough to clean up after. Smells like 2 more weeks to me. Miss Virginia Dell is a rich young lady who had a beautiful and expensive jewelry collection behind a glass in her dressing room. One morning, she found that someone broke the glass and stole her jewelry. Miss Dell's cleaning lady claimed that she had cleaned the room at around 5 a.m. and the jewelry was still there. Virginia's best friend, who was staying in her house that week, said that she had never even walked in the dressing room. Virginia's cousin, who was also staying with her for the holiday, said that she'd walked in the dressing room in the morning, but hadn't paid any attention to the jewelry, and for sure hadn't stolen anything. Who is the liar? It's the cleaning lady. Seems like right after she broke the glass and stole the jewelry, she wiped off the pieces of glass while cleaning as well, because there's no shattered glass on the floor. Okay, here's another task for you to test your observation skills. I'll show you 2 people and some items. Your task is to guess which person the item belongs to. Let's start off easy. What about this stethoscope? Well, it should definitely belong to this doctor on the right. 2 more people. Any guesses who the owner of this bracelet is? The bracelet has a name engraved on it, Sophia. This girl on the left has a name tag with the same name, so it must be her bracelet. Next up, this lipstick. There are 2 girls who are possible owners, but what's your best guess? Who does it belong to? It must be this girl. Both of them are wearing lipstick, but this girl has the exact same shade as the lipstick itself. Earring and 2 girls again to choose from. Any guesses? It must be this girl. Her ears are pierced, and the other girls aren't. The next item is the hairdryer. Who do you think it belongs to? It must be this girl's dryer. She has long hair, and the other guy is bald. Okay, this one is more fun. The next one we have to place is this cute little cat. Who do you think is its owner? See that this girl's legs are a bit scratched? They give her away completely. It's her cat. One last item for you to place. This time it's a photograph of the owner in her teenage years with her parents. Who do you think it belongs to? The teen in the photo is a redhead with green eyes. There's just one redhead girl with green eyes, and here she is. It must be her photo. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She came across a witch's house and asked her to take her home. 5 doors appeared. Only one of them will take you home, and you only have one chance. The right door is black. It's not next to the leftmost or the rightmost door. It's not the door in the middle either. Which door should Esme choose? There are just 3 black doors, and it's one of them. It's not the door next to the leftmost or the rightmost one, so the 4th door is eliminated. It's not the middle door, so it's out too. Esme should walk out the door on the left. Eiko woke up in a dark dungeon without remembering what happened. She looked around and saw a metal door. Unfortunately, it was locked, and it required not just 1 password, but 4. Eiko had only 1 attempt to make it right. Gladly. Next to the door, there was a sign with 4 words: apple, bread, chair, and dress. Which word belongs here? Pay attention to the shapes of each password. Some letters are bigger than others, and each word should fit right in. So it should be bread on the top left, apple on the top right, dress on the bottom left, and chair on the bottom right. In a factory, a worker and a half make a chair and a half in 1 hour and a half. How many chairs does one worker make in one working day, which is 6 hours? If 1.5 workers make 1.5 chairs in 1.5 hours, it means that one worker makes 1 chair in the same time, which is 1.5 hours. So in a 6-hour working day, one worker makes 4 chairs. It was a lazy day, but as soon as it started raining, a city's police officer got a call. Mr. Jones said that someone had just bumped into his car and drove away. The officer arrived. They found one person nearby fixing his car's tire. Mr. Jones said that it was the gentleman who had bumped into his car. The gentleman said that it couldn't be true, since he had been trying to fix his car for over an hour now, and was there the whole time. Who is lying? It's the guy fixing his car. The rain just recently started. If he'd been fixing his car the whole time, the ground underneath his car would be dry. But it's wet, which means his car broke down just recently, probably when he was driving away after the accident. A crew of pirates arrived at a deserted island in the Caribbean at night. In the early morning, the captain went ashore to find his secret stash with all the treasures hidden in it. But when he reached it, the treasures weren't there. Someone from his crew had gone ashore earlier and stolen all of it. There were 3 suspects: Bill, first mate, Gil, bosun, and Will, cook. All of them denied stealing anything, but the captain knew who was lying. Who? There are footprints on the shore from earlier that don't belong to the captain. One is a footprint, but the other one is a hole from a stick. The robber must be Gil, the bosun, because he is the only one with a wooden leg. Let's start with training your eyes a bit. Can you find an odd one out here? Yes, that's the one. Another one for you. Look carefully, and you only have several seconds to find the imposter. That's the one. Correct. Now the game is getting a bit harder, but I know you've got it. What do you say? Here it is. Did you find it? Okay, last one of these, the hardest one. Do you see the odd one out this time? There it is! Great job!
Louis returns home after sunbathing on a beach. He turns on the stove to make an omelet. Sometime later, while he's having breakfast, someone knocks on his door. Several men introduce themselves as maintenance workers. They tell Louis about a gas leak in his apartment and ask him to evacuate immediately. Louis slams the door in their faces and calls the police. He's sure these guys are thieves. Why would Louis think that? He fried his eggs on the electric stove, not a gas one. Thieves wanted to lure him out of his apartment and steal his stuff. 6 people got stuck on a desert island. They know a helicopter will arrive in a few hours, but they need to eat something now. They have a pot, a bottle of fresh water, and 5 potatoes. They cook them and are about to have dinner. But first, they need to divide 5 potatoes of different sizes and shapes among 6 people. And the food should be distributed equally. How can they do it? Easy. They should just prepare mashed potatoes. One famous film director loved it when people spoke about him, even if it was something negative. Once, he made a terrible movie. The man wanted people to hate it. Critics and viewers called his movie bad, unacceptable, ridiculous, and embarrassing every day. And the director enjoyed it. A couple of years later, in an interview, he asked a journalist, "So, what do you think about my latest movie?" The journalist replied shortly, but his answer offended the director. What did the journalist say? I don't remember it. Three girls met in a cozy restaurant to discuss an upcoming party. Jessica ordered a lot of food. Sarah asked for cherry juice. Lucy took an apple out of her bag and started eating it. The waiter brought the juice and the ordered food and left. Sarah started sipping her drink from the glass, but Jessica didn't touch her meal at all. Someone's not human. But who? It's the waiter. Did you see that his hands were covered with scales and his pupils looked like those of a snake? A traveler is walking through a dense Amazon jungle. He's looking for a unique artifact that once belonged to an ancient tribe. If his mission is successful, he'll sell his find for millions of dollars. He comes out of the jungle into a wide clearing and sees two caves. They're both filled with traps, but only one of them contains the treasure. The traveler's sure he'll be able to deal with all the dangers, but only if he chooses the right cave. Which cave should he opt for? The right cave. See, the entrance is overgrown with cobwebs. This means that no one's been there for a very long time. All the other treasure hunters entered the left cave, and they never came back. Mark's friends invited him to a picnic. He arrived at the place, walked around the house, and saw a group of 8 people. None of them was his friend. It was the wrong house. Before leaving, Mark noticed that 3 people in that group were androids. Can you spot them? That guy is pouring a drink from a gasoline container. Smoke is coming out of this elderly lady's head because of a short circuit. And this girl is charging her phone through a cable connected to her neck. After a shipwreck, Jack found himself on a desert island. He built a raft and equipped it with small sails that he took from the ruined ship. Jack couldn't sail far from the shore because there was no wind. A few days later, he noticed a ship. It was approaching the island, but its wind-filled sails were facing the opposite direction. According to the laws of physics, it should be sailing away from the island. Besides, there was no wind. So how is it possible that the ship was getting closer to the shore? The ship was equipped with a motor. Richard is walking through the forest barefoot because some monkeys have stolen his shoes. He's cold and hungry. Fortunately, he spots a hut. Smoke is coming out of the chimney, and light is shining through the windows. 3 paths lead to the house. The first is covered with red-hot coals, and there are loads of rusty nails on the second one. And the third path is littered with broken glass. Yikes! Which way should Richard choose? It's cold, so Richard can wait until the coals cool down. And while he's waiting, he can warm up next to them. Toby has been wandering through the desert for several hours. The sun's burning his neck. There's nothing but hot sand around. He's run out of all the water he had. Toby gets weaker and weaker, and finally, he falls down. At this moment, he sees 2 tiny ponds. Toby only has enough strength to get to one of them. Which of these ponds is a mirage, and which is real? The left pond is real. See the clouds above it? It rained there, and the rainwater formed the pond. At the edge of the forest, quite far from the village, there was an old house. Its owner found his TV broken in the morning. Someone had smashed the screen. The owner called everyone who had been in the house that night: a cook, a cleaning lady, and a lawyer. "Who broke my TV?" the man asked. "I was cooking dinner. I didn't touch anything," the cook said. "I was cleaning the basement," the cleaning lady answered. "I was upstairs. I spent the whole night studying the documents," the lawyer replied. One of them is lying. Who is it? The lawyer. He said he was upstairs, but it's a one-story house. He couldn't be studying the documents on the roof all night. Tom has lost his car keys. He's searched every corner in every room, but hasn't found them. The guy goes to the farthest room, looks at the floor, and realizes the keys are hanging on the chandelier. How does Tom know that? The floor is reflective. An elderly philosophy teacher began an exam. His students were sitting in their seats, listening to him.
Here's a task for you. Prove that everything that happens around me is real, and I'm not sleeping. Whoever writes the most convincing proof will get the highest points.
The students had been writing for several hours, but almost no one got a good grade, except for one girl. She wrote an essay consisting of several words. What did she put on paper? You can't read this if you're asleep. By the way, you can use this tip while sleeping. It's almost impossible to read anything in a dream. Therefore, to find out whether you're asleep or not, look at your phone and try to read something. There was an old haunted house in town. Local people were afraid to go there, but one day, 3 girls and 2 boys decided to check that place out and record whatever was happening there. They approached the scary building, but one guy, Rob, refused to come in. He said he would wait for his friends outside. The rest of the group went into the house. Rob was nervous. After waiting for them for a few minutes, he was ready to call someone for help. But all 4 girls and 1 boy returned at this moment. Rob realized there were ghosts in the house and ran away from there. How did he know that? Three girls and 1 boy were in the house, but 5 people came out. 1 girl was a spirit. Rob saw her and ran away. Michael is walking along the sidewalk, holding his hands behind his back. A car appears from around the corner behind him. At this moment, Michael is walking near a big puddle. The driver accelerates. He's going to splash the water all over Michael. But at the last moment, he suddenly slows down and drives around the puddle. Why didn't he drench Michael? Michael was carrying a brick behind his back. The driver was afraid that Michael would throw it at his car, so he didn't drive over the puddle. Alexandra is walking around an old castle. There are lots of portraits of kings and queens on the walls. The corridor is lit by candles. Alexandra goes down to the first floor, where several people are dancing. The girl feels as if she has somehow traveled to the previous century. But wait a minute, this is all fake. How did the girl understand that? A hidden camera is installed in the corner of the hall. Also, that dancing girl has a smartwatch on her wrist. See? It's morning. Bob leaves his house and goes to the beach. The sun is peeking over the horizon. The sea is calm. There's no wind. Bob sits down on the sand, closes his eyes, and begins to meditate. Several people come up to Bob and sit down next to him to meditate too. Bob opens his eyes, sees them, and realizes that something's wrong with these people. But what? Look at Bob, and now at how these people are sitting. They aren't touching the sand. Their bodies are half an inch above the ground. Okay, Now let's check and see how many correct answers you got. 0 to 3 points. Don't get upset. There's no need to try to find stuff everywhere. Sometimes you just need to trust your intuition. 4 to 7 points. More practice, more riddles, more logical tasks. And next time, you'll definitely get better results. 8 to 11 points. Oh, not bad. But sometimes you probably were inattentive. 12 to 15 points. Wow, nobody can fool you. You can always figure out the truth. You're great, but not the best of the best yet. 16 points. Whoa! You are the king of riddles. You always remain attentive to details. And also, you have awesome intuition.
This fresh set of optical illusions will definitely challenge your visual perception. If your brain isn't happy when you look at things that spin and flash, be careful and get somebody to watch this astonishing illusionary art with you. Ready? Go full screen and let's get started. Take a look at this pair of circles. It's not an illusion. They're identical and they do rotate. But they don't actually move across the screen. The arrows confuse your brain, so it seems that the circles are shrinking and even moving back and forth. If you manage to focus your gaze so that they stop moving, you're a wizard. What about this shining star? Is it static or dynamic? Although the star seems to be pulsing, its size doesn't change at all, but its popping color creates an illusion of movement. Let's move on to our next one. Check this out. Can you spot any movement? This picture is static, but if you take your time to look at these flowers carefully, your brain will definitely convince you that they're moving. What about this picture? The direction of this pattern makes the brain think that the circle is rotating to the left, but it's a lie. The same goes for this cute pattern. Can you see it spinning around? What about this picture? Can you spot any movement? Well, in this case, it's not surprising because this image is animated. An optical illusion is not always an optical illusion, so be careful. Let's take a look at the next one. This star seems to be dancing because its asymmetrical shape confuses your brain's expectations. Maybe it's time to ask ourselves, what else is my brain lying to me about right now? What can you say about this beautiful pattern? Is it just a basic optical illusion or an animated video? That's right, it's an animation. Here's our next one. If you focus all your attention on the middle of this picture, it will soon begin to move. But in fact, it stays the same. Don't let your brain play tricks on you. Your perception of this image may change if you blink a bunch of times and shake your head. Moving on, take a look at this tricky pattern. Is this image static? Yes, it truly is. Some optical illusions work by fooling around with contrasts in our field of vision. These two circles consist of small rotating striped circles. They appear to change the direction of rotating, thanks to how our brains deal with information immediately within our focus. It's different from the way it processes peripheral information. You can see it when you focus on one circle and then on another. Are you dizzy yet? Let's move on to the next one. Zigzag is a great tool to create a bunch of optical illusions that can make you feel like you're flying. But this particular zigzag pattern is animated. Is it? Nope, it's a static picture. Be careful with zigzags. The next optical illusion will make you see with your eyes closed. All you have to do is stare at this Marilyn Monroe's nose at the center of this portrait. Continue staring at the same spot for at least 7 seconds, and try not to blink. Ready? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now take a look at your ceiling and blink a bunch of times. Close your eyes. Can you still see the portrait? Don't worry, it'll disappear in a few seconds. This optical illusion is called an after image. It appears after you've stared at an image for some time. Usually, it requires around 30 seconds. Then you close your eyes or look at a white piece of paper afterwards. Overstimulation makes the rods and cones in your eyes lose sensitivity. That's why for a short period afterward, you interpret colors as their paired primary color. Now, let's take a look at this tricky pattern. Is this image static or dynamic? It's not an optical illusion. This pattern is animated. If you managed to guess, great job! Now, let's take a look at this one. Do these spheres move across the screen? Nope, they don't. If you were careful enough, you noticed the top moving when you squinted and concentrated on the spheres. This optical illusion is static. But if you take your time and focus on the center of the screen, it will begin to rotate. Let's move on to our next one. This optical illusion will make you feel like a magician and level up your concentration skills. At this point, you probably see that the static circles begin to move, pop, and spin slightly. But which way? There's no right answer here. The largest circle probably spins to the left. But if you switch your focus to the center of the image, the same circle will begin to spin to the right. The movement will change depending on which layer of this image you're currently focusing on. Arrows inside these colorful circles may confuse your vision. Try not to look at them, and you'll notice that the circles inside this illusion aren't changing their shape or moving at all. It's pretty clear that this crazy watermelon isn't spinning, isn't it? Nope. If you screw up with your eyes, you can verify this by focusing your gaze on the sphere. See? It doesn't move anymore. This figure can begin to move like a snake, and the black points will begin to blink white. But don't let your brain fool you. This image is still the same. Are you dizzy yet? Let's experiment with disappearing dots. Focus on the central green dot. Try not to blink for a while. You will see one or more of the yellow dots disappearing and then reappearing randomly. Here's another illusion with disappearing dots. Thousands of people worldwide complained that this simple optical illusion had made them question reality. There are 12 black dots at the intersections of this image. but your brain won't let you see them all at once. Well, how many dots did you count? There are 12 black dots in this image, and it's a fact, but most people can't see all 12 dots at once. When you're focusing on that black dot in the center of your field of view, your visual system is automatically filling in what's going on around it. And this regular pattern of gray lines on a white background makes your brain suggest that there are no black dots at all. That's why you miss the intermittent black dots, or they disappear and reappear as your eye jitters around. This cute animation is also very tricky. It pictures a moon and 6 stars surrounding it. There's also a dotted circular layer moving in the background. Try not to move your head at all. If you manage to focus your eyes on the moon and stay perfectly still, you'll soon notice that the stars begin to disappear. How many of them did you make disappear? There's no one correct answer here. The number of disappeared stars depends on your perception. This tricky wheel can make your brain think that it rotates, but it's a lie. You may notice that the wheel changes the direction when you tilt your head to the right or to the left. This trick will make your hands melt like water. Don't worry, it's not forever. Keep staring at the center of the screen for 30 seconds. Try not to blink. Now, take a look at your hands. Are they melting? You can also look at some text and notice that your vision is wavy. Take a look at this tricky optical illusion. What can you say about this wheel? Is it static or dynamic? It's static. Your brain plays tricks on you. Now let's give your eyes a little break by changing the task. Can you spot an odd monkey out? Here it is. Can you find a different monster out? This guy in the right corner doesn't look as happy as the others. There are many zeros in here. Can you also see another hidden number? Here it is. Does this pattern consist of red apples only? Nope. Here's one tomato. Can you find 2 similar emojis among this variety? Here they are. What about this set of emojis? Can you see 2 identical emojis? Here they are. Take a look at these emojis. Are they all different? Nope. These 2 emojis are similar. How many emojis can you find among this variety? There are 3. What about this collection? Can you spot any identical emojis here? This task is tricky. All these emojis are different. If you manage to crack our trick, good job! Take a look at this set. Can you find a pair of identical emojis? Nope, it's impossible, because these two are similar. Does this cat crowd have any odd details? This guy over here is not a cat, it's a rabbit. Can you find a four-leaf clover in here? Here it is. Lucky you.
So, three best friends have finally met in a cafe to discuss some business. Val orders a big cake with fruit. Simon asks for a glass of soda. And Leo takes an energy bar out of his bag and starts eating it. The waiter brings the cake and the soda and leaves. Simon drinks from his glass, but Val doesn't touch the cake. Why? There are slices of tomatoes and cucumbers on it. Val asked for a fruitcake. An archaeologist makes his way through the dense jungle of an unknown island. He's looking for a valuable treasure, a 2,000-year-old ancient cup. If he manages to get it, he can sell the artifact for millions of dollars. He comes out to a small lake with a waterfall. He dives under the water and notices two caves. The cup is inside one of them. Where should the archaeologist go? Think faster, he's running out of air. He needs to swim to the left cave. Air bubbles are floating out, which means there is some dry land inside the cave. Friends invited George to a picnic. He arrives at the agreed place in the forest, finds a wide clearing, and sees a group of 7 people there. None of them are his friends. Apparently, he's come to the wrong location. George is about to leave this place, but he notices that 3 people are not human. Find them. Look at the way that girl over there blinks. Ooh, creepy. This granny's cane is part of her hand, not a separate object. This guy is charging the phone through a cable connected to his leg. Well, that's convenient. 3 guys are sitting on the sidewalk. They're all in dirty clothes and look tired. Each of them hopes to get some money from people who are passing by. But nobody helps them, since one of these homeless people only pretends to be poor. Passers-by see this and don't want to help any of them. Who do you think is pretending? Look at this bald guy. You can notice a smartwatch on his wrist. Marshall has lost his shoes in a swamp, so now he's walking through the woods barefoot. It's getting cold and dark. Fortunately, he notices a small house ahead. Marshall hears someone singing inside. But before entering the building, he needs to choose one of these dangerous roads. The first one is swarming with poisonous scorpions. Broken glass covers the second path. Weird purple flowers grow on the third road. Which way should Marshall pick? This seems to be a tricky question, but there's no trick. Obviously, he needs to choose the path with the flowers. Marshall comes up to the house, peeks inside through the window, and recoils. A pale woman is rocking a crib with a straw puppet in it and singing a lullaby. A TV is working, but Marshall can't see what's on. Without turning her head to Marshall, the woman says she knows about the stranger standing outside. Marshall starts running away from this place as fast as possible. But how did the woman know about him? There's a hidden camera on the porch. The woman is watching the recording on the TV. Samantha has been wandering through the desert for several hours. The sand is so hot that she can't touch it. Samantha notices a tent far ahead. It's definitely not a mirage. The girl quickens her pace and reaches the spot. She finds a bottle of water, 2 eggs and a frying pan inside. Samantha quenches her thirst. Now she feels hungry, but it's dangerous to eat raw eggs in the desert. You can get food poisoning. Samantha decides to fry the eggs. She wanders around trying to find some firewood, but sees nothing but endless dunes. How can Samantha cook the eggs? She can put the pan on the sand. It's hot. The sun will add to this heat, and the eggs will fry. There's a huge rock on the shore of a paradise island. There's a castle on the top of this rock. The owner of the castle finds a broken TV in the morning. He calls all the people who were inside that night: a cleaner, a clown, and a laundryman. "Who broke my TV?" the owner asks. "I was washing the dishes in the kitchen. I didn't touch anything," the cleaner replies. "I was rehearsing for my tomorrow's performance," the clown says. "I was watching YouTube on my phone," the laundryman answers. "Give it to me," the owner demands. He presses the lock button, looks at the screen, and says the laundryman has lied to him. What did the owner see on the phone? There's no network signal or Wi-Fi connection. The internet isn't working. The laundryman couldn't be watching YouTube. After taking a shower, Albert realizes he's lost his wedding ring.
Oh, no!
He searches all the cupboards and nightstands in every room, but can't find it. It seems that the ring fell down the drain. Oh no, his wife will return home soon, and she'll definitely notice this disappearance. Albert goes to the bathroom, looks around for the last time, and nothing. The wife enters the apartment. She looks at her husband, asks him to turn around, and pulls the ring out of his hair. It got caught there while he was in the shower. But how did the wife know the ring was there? Albert was facing her. There's a mirror behind Albert. The wife noticed the ring in the reflection. A young philosophy teacher starts an exam. His students listen to him very attentively. "Here's a task for you. Prove that I don't exist now. Those who will provide the most convincing arguments will get a high score." All the students passed the exam in a few seconds. How did they do it? They just walked out of the room. There's no teacher, so there's no exam. Alexis is walking along the street with her purse hanging from her shoulder. She's holding her hands in front of her face, but we can't see what she's doing. A motorcycle appears from around the corner behind. The driver notices Alexis. Now he wants to steal her bag. The biker is accelerating. He's stretching his hand out, but Alexis steps aside at the last moment. The biker drives away. How did she figure out the guy wanted to rob her? She was looking into a small mirror, checking her makeup. When she noticed the biker in the reflection, the girl stepped aside. There's an old abandoned warehouse in the city. People say it's a haunted place. Everyone is too afraid to go there. But one day, 3 boys and 2 girls decide to visit the building and paint graffiti on its walls. They approach the warehouse, but one girl, Rachel, refuses to come inside. She wants to wait for her friends outside. The rest of the group goes into the house. They're already gone for a few minutes. Rachel is about to call them, but at this moment, all 3 boys and 1 girl come out of the house. Rachel realizes that ghosts live in the warehouse and runs away. How did she know that? 4 people entered the building and 4 people came out. Where's the catch? One of the boys is different. It's not their friend. Besides, look at his legs. They're slightly transparent. Rachel immediately noticed this and ran away. Kenny is walking through an old abandoned hospital. There are portraits of doctors and some patients on the walls. Kenny illuminates his way with a flashlight. He goes down to the first floor and sees several people in white lab coats. They seem pretty normal and friendly. They're not the guys Kenny saw on the portraits, but he still realizes these doctors are ghosts. How did he figure it out? He was using a flashlight. When he pointed the beam at those people, they didn't cast shadows. It means they were not real. It's evening. Courtney leaves her house to go for a walk to the lake. The moon is shining. The water is calm. There's no wind. Courtney enjoys the silence and the chirping of crickets. She sits down on the grass, closes her eyes, and begins to meditate. At this moment, several people come out of the water. They sit next to Courtney, but she doesn't panic. She realizes she dozed off while meditating and sees a dream now. How did she know that? This time, trust your ears, not your eyes. Firstly, the sound of crickets disappeared. Also, there was no splashing heard when those people came out of the water. The prince of an unknown country arranged a huge party in his homeland. He invited all his friends and lots of celebrities, actors, musicians, and so on. And here he is, on the stage. He takes the microphone and thanks everyone for coming. But he sees only a few people in the hall. Yet he invited many more people. There are simple workers and rich people among his friends. They all live in different countries all over the world. Why haven't any of them arrived? The party is in an unknown country, remember? How could guests buy airplane tickets to an unknown place? Hey, I got a point there. Someone stole a collection of vinyl records from a rock star's house. To escape, the robber hid the records in a trash container. Then he disappeared into a dark alley. Fortunately, Detective Richardson caught him, along with 2 other suspects. Take a look at them. Who do you think the thief is? Look at this guy's shoes. An old banana peel has stuck to his sneaker. That's because he's been to the trash container.
This fresh set of optical illusions will definitely challenge your visual perception. If your brain isn't happy when you look at things that spin and flash, be careful and get somebody to watch this astonishing illusionary art with you. Ready? Go full screen and let's get started. Take a look at this pair of circles. It's not an illusion, they're identical, and they do rotate. But they don't actually move across the screen. The arrows confuse your brain, so it seems that the circles are shrinking and even moving back and forth. If you manage to focus your gaze so that they stop moving, you're a wizard. What about this shining star? Is it static or dynamic? Although the star seems to be pulsing, its size doesn't change at all, but its popping color creates an illusion of movement. Let's move on to our next one. Check this out. Can you spot any movement? This picture is static, but if you take your time to look at these flowers carefully, your brain will definitely convince you that they're moving. What about this picture? The direction of this pattern makes the brain think that the circle is rotating to the left, but it's a lie. The same goes for this cute pattern. Can you see it spinning around? What about this picture? Can you spot any movement? Well, in this case, it's not surprising because this image is animated. An optical illusion is not always an optical illusion, so be careful. Let's take a look at the next one. This star seems to be dancing because its asymmetrical shape confuses your brain's expectations. Maybe it's time to ask ourselves, what else is my brain lying to me about right now? What can you say about this beautiful pattern? Is it just a basic optical illusion or an animated video? That's right, it's an animation. Here's our next one. If you focus all your attention on the middle of this picture, it will soon begin to move. But in fact, it stays the same. Don't let your brain play tricks on you. Your perception of this image may change if you blink a bunch of times and shake your head. Moving on, take a look at this tricky pattern. Is this image static? Yes, it truly is. Some optical illusions work by fooling around with contrasts in our field of vision. These two circles consist of small rotating striped circles. They appear to change the direction of rotating thanks to how our brains deal with information immediately within our focus. It's different from the way it processes peripheral information. You can see it when you focus on one circle and then on another. Are you dizzy yet? Let's move on to the next one. Zigzag is a great tool to create a bunch of optical illusions that can make you feel like you're flying. But this particular zigzag pattern is animated. Is it? Nope, it's a static picture. Be careful with zigzags. The next optical illusion will make you see with your eyes closed. All you have to do is stare at this Marilyn Monroe's nose at the center of this portrait. Continue staring at the same spot for at least 7 seconds, and try not to blink. Ready? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now take a look at your ceiling and blink a bunch of times. Close your eyes. Can you still see the portrait? Don't worry, it'll disappear in a few seconds. This optical illusion is called an after image. It appears after you've stared at an image for some time. Usually, it requires around 30 seconds. Then you close your eyes or look at a white piece of paper afterwards. Overstimulation makes the rods and cones in your eyes lose sensitivity. That's why for a short period afterward, you interpret colors as their paired primary color. Now, let's take a look at this tricky pattern. Is this image static or dynamic? It's not an optical illusion. This pattern is animated. If you managed to guess, great job! Now, let's take a look at this one. Do these spheres move across the screen? Nope, they don't. If you were careful enough, you noticed the top moving when you squinted and concentrated on the spheres. This optical illusion is static. But if you take your time and focus on the center of the screen, it will begin to rotate. Let's move on to our next one. This optical illusion will make you feel like a magician and level up your concentration skills. At this point, you probably see that the static circles begin to move, pop, and spin slightly. But which way? There's no right answer here. The largest circle probably spins to the left. But if you switch your focus to the center of the image, the same circle will begin to spin to the right. The movement will change depending on which layer of this image you're currently focusing on. Arrows inside these colorful circles may confuse your vision. Try not to look at them, and you'll notice that the circles inside this illusion aren't changing their shape or moving at all. It's pretty clear that this crazy watermelon isn't spinning, isn't it? Nope. If you screw up with your eyes, you can verify this by focusing your gaze on the sphere. See? It doesn't move anymore. This figure can begin to move like a snake, and the black points will begin to blink white. But don't let your brain fool you. This image is still the same. Are you dizzy yet? Let's experiment with disappearing dots. Focus on the central green dot. Try not to blink for a while. You will see one or more of the yellow dots disappearing and then reappearing randomly. Here's another illusion with disappearing dots. Thousands of people worldwide complained that this simple optical illusion had made them question reality. There are 12 black dots at the intersections of this image, but your brain won't let you see them all at once. Well, how many dots did you count? There are 12 black dots in this image, and it's a fact. But most people can't see all 12 dots at once. When you're focusing on that black dot in the center of your field of view, your visual system is automatically filling in what's going on around it. And this regular pattern of gray lines on a white background makes your brain suggest that there are no black dots at all. That's why you miss the intermittent black dots, or they disappear and reappear as your eye jitters around. This cute animation is also very tricky. It pictures a moon and 6 stars surrounding it. There's also a dotted circular layer moving in the background. Try not to move your head at all. If you manage to focus your eyes on the moon and stay perfectly still, you'll soon notice that the stars begin to disappear. How many of them did you make disappear? There's no one correct answer here. The number of disappeared stars depends on your perception. This tricky wheel can make your brain think that it rotates, but it's a lie. You may notice that the wheel changes the direction when you tilt your head to the right or to the left. This trick will make your hands melt like water. Don't worry, it's not forever. Keep staring at the center of the screen for 30 seconds. Try not to blink. Now, take a look at your hands. Are they melting? You can also look at some text and notice that your vision is wavy. Take a look at this tricky optical illusion. What can you say about this wheel? Is it static or dynamic? It's static. Your brain plays tricks on you. Now let's give your eyes a little break by changing the task. Can you spot an odd monkey out? Here it is. Can you find a different monster out? This guy in the right corner doesn't look as happy as the others. There are many zeros in here. Can you also see another hidden number? Here it is. Does this pattern consist of red apples only? Nope. Here's one tomato. Can you find two similar emojis among this variety? Here they are. What about this set of emojis? Can you see two identical emojis? Here they are. Take a look at these emojis. Are they all different? Nope. These two emojis are similar. How many emojis can you find among this variety? There are 3. What about this collection? Can you spot any identical emojis here? This task is tricky. All these emojis are different. If you manage to crack our trick, good job! Take a look at this set. Can you find a pair of identical emojis? Nope, it's impossible, because these two are similar. Does this cat crowd have any odd details? This guy over here is not a cat, it's a rabbit. Can you find a 4-leaf clover in here? Here it is. Lucky you.
The owner of the restaurant, Vegan Paradise, called the police. Someone has attacked our chef. He was taken to a hospital several minutes ago. My rivals must have sent someone to ruin my business. When police officers came to the restaurant, they found out that 3 people had been in the staff area during the accident. The first cook was cutting onions when the chef was hurt. He told the police that tears had blurred his vision and he hadn't seen anything. The second cook was peeling shrimps when the accident happened. He said that he had been listening to music through his earphones, and he hadn't heard anything. The third person, a waitress, claimed she had been serving lemonade outside. Who's lying? The second cook attacked the chef. There can't be shrimps in a vegan restaurant. Eric was having lunch in a cafe. At one point, he went to the bathroom and left his smartphone on the table. When he came back, the phone was missing. Eric saw a man leaving the place and ran after him. Eric stopped him when the man was about to sit in a car and asked him to return the gadget, but the man claimed to know nothing about the phone. He said that he had just given his friends a lift to work, and he pointed at 2 men entering an office building. After hearing this, Eric immediately called the police. Why? The man lied. His car is a sports convertible with just 2 seats. It can't fit 3 men. The police got a call from the house of a wealthy man who didn't come back after going for a jog. When several officers arrived, they questioned the maid, the millionaire's wife, and his driver. The maid said, "When Mr. Jones went for a jog, he asked me to prepare his breakfast, and I immediately got down to work. But it's been 3 hours, and he hasn't returned yet." The wife was worried too. "I saw him in the morning, but he was in a hurry. We just greeted each other and I went to work." The driver told the police he'd been waiting for his boss in the car, looking through his social media. Who knows something about the millionaire's disappearance? The maid's lying. If she had cut the apples for breakfast 3 hours ago, they would have turned brown by now. Now, look at poor Dwight. Someone has pulled a paint bucket prank on him. Look at his colleagues and try to figure out who it was. It was definitely Jim. Look at his pants. There are paint stains there. Now, look at these girls. Who's going to be the first to escape? It's going to be the first girl. She's got long, beautiful nails. She's bound to have a file to look after them. It can help her cut the rope. One of these people on the train is hiding some treasure. Who can it be? It's this woman. She pretends to be pregnant, but her belly is suspiciously square. Look at these two girls. Who will be the first to escape? The one on the right. She hasn't touched her food because she uses her spoon to dig a tunnel. The girl on the right has managed to escape, but the tunnel splits into two smaller ones. One is swarming with snakes, and in the other, a fire is raging. What should she do? She should dig another tunnel above these two. She's got her spoon after all. David was a famous antique dealer in his town, but there were loads of people who envied him. The man had a beautiful young daughter called Liza. One evening, when the antiquarian was busy in his workshop, his phone rang. A man told him that they had David's daughter. If he wanted to see her again, he had to give his jewelry collection to the man waiting at the doors. David requested to talk to his daughter. He asked her just one question. "I have two hands, but I can't scratch myself. What am I?" When David heard no answer, he said, "It's not my daughter," and hung up. What's the answer to this riddle? Liza would know that her father was talking about a clock. It took 9 years to build the world's tallest skyscraper. Every next year, the builders managed to double its height. How many years did it take the skyscraper to reach half of its maximum height? "8 years. If the constructors doubled the building's height every year, the skyscraper was half of its final height a year before it was completed." Divide 30 by 1/2 and add 10. What will you get? The correct answer is 70. Most people divide 30 by 2, add 10, and get 25. But when you divide a number by a fraction, you should actually multiply it by the denominator, which is the number below the line. This way, 30 times 2 plus 10 equals 70. You find yourself in the middle of a forest with 3 paths in front of you. The first one is covered with burning hot coals. The second path is so cold that it feels like Antarctica right under your feet. And the third path is covered with sharp nails. Which path should you choose? The second path. All that ice is bound to be gone soon. It's too close to the hot coals. The police were looking for Kyle for 2 days. The guy went hiking and never came back. Finally, he was found. Someone had hit him on the head and left him lying in the bushes. Kyle only managed to say, "Friend," and lost consciousness. The police officers had 3 suspects, all of them Kyle's friends. Zachary said he'd spent these last days at work getting ready for a conference. Jeremy told the detectives he sprained his ankle and had been in bed for 4 days. And Billy explained he'd been to New York for business. He even showed the police officers his boarding pass. Who's responsible for the accident with Kyle? Billy showed the police just one boarding pass. Then how did he get back from New York? His story sounds fishy. Jordan was very late for a job interview, but when he drove up to the office building, he found out there were no free parking spaces. He decided to leave his car a bit further from the entrance. Oh no, even though there were several other vehicles in that area, parking was prohibited there. Luckily, Jordan came up with an idea and didn't get fined. What did he do? He took a parking ticket from another car and put it on his windshield. It looked as if he'd already been fined. Hey, I didn't say it was an honest solution. That day, famous chef Logan was going to have some very important guests in his restaurant. He was anxious because his future depended on how they would appreciate his food. Everything had to be perfect. There was only 1 hour left before the guests were supposed to arrive. And that's when Logan discovered someone had left ugly red handprints on his sparkling white jacket. He examined the stains. It was ketchup. Logan knew that some of the cooks didn't like him. Look at them and tried to help the chef figure out who's guilty. There's a pair of gloves stained with something red in the trash can. The only person who isn't wearing any gloves is the cook on the left. He was the one to spoil Logan's uniform. Linda was in a cafe with her boyfriend, and their date wasn't going very well. At one point, they both got angry and started to argue. Suddenly, their waiter came up to the table and handed something to Linda. It was a note with a strangely written word. Lowercase t, uppercase r, lowercase o, uppercase u, lowercase b, lowercase l, lowercase e. Trouble? Linda was confused. What could it mean? Can you figure it out? It's a rebus puzzle. The waiter got worried and asked Linda, "Are you in trouble?"
Today, I'm going to test your attention. During the whole video, you should stay alert and keep your eyes wide open. Do you think you're ready?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, let's start with a riddle about these two pretty ladies. I've heard a rumor that one of them isn't as young as she appears. She is 100 years old. But which one? It's the lady on the right. Take a look at her reflection in the mirror. It shows her true posture and true age. Callie is spending her vacation in the Maldives. She can choose one of these 3 bungalows, but unfortunately, each road has some danger. The first road is on fire. The second road is swarming with venomous snakes. And toxic waste is spilled all over the third road. Which way should Callie choose? She should choose the first road. Callie can put out the fire with seawater. There's plenty around. Look, there are 2 couples. Both of them seem pretty ordinary, but that's just at first sight. In fact, one of them is from another world. Which one? Of course, it's the couple on the left. Take a look at this guy's feet. They don't match his reflection. In a parallel universe, it was only allowed to have fun and eat candy. No one ever worked or studied. Mrs. Relum came back home after a long and fun day at a club. Her 3 daughters were supposed to have fun too. She asked them what they had been doing. Hannah said, "I've been watching Netflix all day." Elle said, I went to a party. Ava said, I had lunch with a bunch of girls. Still, Mrs. Relum could tell that one of her daughters lied and actually spent all day studying. Who was it? It was Hannah. Look, there's an opened physics textbook and some notes under her bed. Ava had a sleepover with her friends, so no wonder that her room is a complete mess. Now she's going camping with her friends. She needs her boots, a flashlight, and a raincoat. Can you help her find them in the room? Yes, here they are. Great job. After Ava returns from her camping trip, she'll need to go to her art class. She needs her brushes, her paints, and a canvas. Can you help her find them? Here, here, and here. Did you manage to locate all of them? Elle is getting ready for a sleepover and can't find some things in her messy room too. She needs her pajamas, a laptop, and a Bluetooth speaker. Can you help her find them? Here they are. Did you find them all? Now Elle is getting ready to go to a club with some friends. She needs her dress, a makeup kit, and her wallet. Where are they? They're all right here. Okay, now I'll show you some photos. In each photo, there are hidden numbers from 1 to 9, except for 1. Your task is to find all numbers and identify which one is missing.
Yeah.
Here is the first one. Which number from 1 to 9 isn't in the photo? Correct. There is no number 3. Okay, now something a bit harder. A new photo, but the task is the same. Which number is missing? Now, there's no number 7. The next one, here it is. What do you say? This time, it's 9 that's missing. The task is getting harder, and the numbers aren't so easy to find anymore. But I believe you can do it, so go ahead. What do you say this time? There is no number 5. That's right. Okay, the last one. Concentrate and give me the right answer. Yes, number 8 isn't there. Great job! Alex is enjoying the sun in the backyard, and Meadow is mowing the lawn before joining him and drinking her milkshake. Which one of them is doing something stupid? Meadow. Her milkshake is standing in direct sunlight. Firstly, it'll have melted by the time she's free. Secondly, the milk can go bad, so she's likely to get a stomachache. Thomas and Abigail are going on a date. Abigail arrived half an hour earlier and went book hunting to a nearby mall. Thomas is running late, so he's in a hurry. Who is doing something wrong? Thomas. He's driving on the left side of the road. Ryan and Neva are camping. Ryan took a boat to cross the river, and Neva went to collect some sticks to make a fire. Who is in danger? Ryan. Look, the boat has a crack in it and starts getting filled with water. Asher and Haley are enjoying their vacations. Asher is on a beach and has fallen asleep. Haley is hiking in the mountains. Who is not smart? Asher. The sun is high in the sky, so it's around midday. He has fallen asleep, so he'll get a sunburn. See? He's already pink. William and Wendy are late for work. Who is doing something wrong? William. He's driving way above the speed limit. Sam found his best friend, Wendy, unconscious in her kitchen and immediately called the police. Here's what he had told them when the police arrived. She had been out of the city for a work trip and had just returned home. I was walking past her house with my dog and saw that the light was on. I peeked through the window and saw her lying here in the kitchen. So I entered the house. I had the key. Sam was taken to the police station as a suspect. Why? Sam said that he had been walking with his dog, but then, where is the animal? Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She loved taking long trips to the local forest alone. During one of her walks, she came across a huge mansion. It was obvious that no one lived there, so she entered it. It was dusty inside, but very beautiful, so she took some pictures and left. When Aurora came back home, she scrolled through her photos to pick the best of them to post on her social media. When she saw one of the photos, she got chills. Take a good look at the photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed a ghost right here. So the mansion is haunted. Aurora looked through her other photos and saw more ghosts. But how many? Help her count them. Here's the next photo. How many ghosts can you find? One, 2, and 3. There are 3 ghosts in this one. The next picture. Do you see any ghosts? There are just 2 ghosts here, but they are very well hidden. Have you found both? And the last photo. How many ghosts can you find? Look, there are 4 of them here. Mr. Johnson got in a car accident and spent a month in the hospital. He had amnesia and forgot some things. He didn't have any family. A month later, he finally returned home. He found his street, but then he realized he didn't remember which of the 2 houses was actually his house. Can you guess which house belongs to him? The light is on in this house, so someone must live there. As you remember, Mr. Johnson lives alone, So his house must be the other one, with dark windows. Mrs. Brown is a landlord of an apartment building with a no-pet policy. Not even fish are allowed. One night, she heard a dog barking somewhere on the floor above hers. The next day, she inspected 2 apartments. In which apartment does the dog live? It must be this one. Even though there's no dog in sight, the carpet is covered in dog hairs.
Are you ready to dive into sci-fi madness? Let's go! Somewhere in outer space, a show has just begun on a giant asteroid. A glowing star guy is reading poetry. His viewers are little stone people. The artist is saying beautiful words with passion. He puts his heart and soul into the performance. He's finishing. A shining tear is rolling down his cheek. He bows to the audience, but no one is clapping. In fact, they don't react at all. Why? Because this is outer space. There's no sound here. Somewhere in the vast valleys of Mars, races on rovers are taking place. 5 cars are driving at high speed toward the finish line. 3 racers soon leave the others behind, but only one of them will be the winner. Take a look at the dashboard of each of the drivers. Try to figure out who will be the first to come to the finish line. The speedometer arrow on the first rider's dashboard shows the maximum speed, but he won't win because the fuel indicator is flashing. The second racer seems to be fine, but look at the mirror. No one is reflected there. The car is moving without a driver. The third driver will win. Each of these 3 friends is going on a journey. They have already packed their suitcases and filled the tanks of their spaceships. This guy says he wants to visit Neptune. That girl is going to check on her friends who live on Mars. This man is flying to Venus. Which of them is lying? Venus is very close to the sun. It's a scorching hot place. And this man is wearing warm clothes. He's probably lying. Show me your hands! The head of the Department of Extraterrestrial Beings screams. 3 detainees are sitting at the table. One of them is not human. Look at their hands. Who do you think is an imposter from another planet? Yeah, this guy has 6 fingers, but there are people on Earth who have such hands. Look at this girl. She has shining green eyes. Apparently, she's not from our planet. 3 wanderers are walking on the dark side of the moon. They're tired and lost. Fortunately, a rescue spaceship spots them. The travelers beg to take them on board, but there is only one seat. The first wanderer carries a heavy box with meteorite rocks. He's tired and can no longer walk with this load. The second guy carries nothing, but he looks sick. The third wanderer says he's exhausted because he's extremely thirsty. He hasn't drank for 2 days. Who really needs help? Gravity is much weaker on the moon than on Earth, so the first wanderer's box should be quite light. He just pretends to be tired. The third wanderer has a chance to get some water. Do you see a small rescue station in the distance? H2O is written on it, so he can find water there. But the second wanderer really needs help. The indicator on his spacesuit signals a low oxygen level. The inhabitants of Planet Quest love adventures. Their favorite place is a dangerous park on a desert planet near a black hole. So one guy named Lup goes there. He needs to try to survive there for 1 week. As soon as he arrives at the park, he comes across a space cockroach that has 6 heads. The cockroach jumps on Lup and bites him with one of its heads. Lup fights off the monster and gets back to the ship. The bite is venomous, but fortunately, Lup has an antidote. First, he needs to drink one pill that contains medicine, and after that, a catalyst that activates the cure. Then, Lup needs to repeat it 2 hours later. But the problem is the pills with the medicine and catalyst look similar, and Lup has mixed them in his pocket. He can't take 4 tablets at once because it's dangerous, so how can he separate them? Lup needs to crush all the pills and divide the powder into 2 equal parts. One is for now, and the other he'll swallow 2 hours later. There will be the same amount of catalyst and antidote in each part. You're on planet Veveki, in the Purple Pencil Nebula. Right now you're wandering through a dark forest. The trees are covered with pieces of toilet paper instead of leaves. You know you have company in the woods, a werewolf. You come to a rocky cliff and see 3 bridges leading to the other side of the forest. There are people on every bridge. Which one is the werewolf? It can be anybody, but it doesn't matter. No one can turn into a werewolf since there's no full moon here. This is not Earth, remember? A dwarf planet illuminates the sky. Welcome to the moon again. Right now, you witness the most incredible jumping competition. Thanks to the weak gravity on Earth's natural satellite, athletes can jump really high. But which of them will jump the highest? The participants put on their spacesuits and walk out of the atmospheric station. They seem to be ready. 3, 2, 1, jump! And we see the winner. She's jumped much higher than her opponents. But wait, there's something wrong here. This participant is not worthy of the title of the winner. She cheated. But how did you understand that? It's a hologram. All the participants left footprints on the ground after jumping and landing. But this girl has left no traces, which means she's not real. On the shore of Molten Gum, far away from the village of Talking Stones, there's a big house. This building is different from all others in this neighborhood since it exists in 2-dimensional space. The owner is a rich architect, Mr. Ali Lee Bulb, who has just woken up after a 90,000-second nap. He finds a broken diamond banana in the kitchen. Mr. Ali Lee Bulb gets angry and calls everyone who was in the house while he was sleeping. He's going to find out who broke his amazing piece of jewelry. Big closed eye, cardboard giraffe with glasses, and 3-headed pelican come into the living room.
Tell me who broke the banana.
Mr. Ali Lee Bulb says, I didn't do that. I was visiting rich old people in their dreams. Big closed eye tells him.
I was watching the Liquid Laughter 3D movie in the living room all this time.
The giraffe says, I have no idea who I am and what's going on here. I haven't touched your banana, said one of the pelican's heads. Mr. Ali Lee Bulb immediately realizes who's lied to him. And you? It's Cardboard Giraffe. He couldn't watch a 3D movie since the house only exists in 2 dimensions. It happened on a dark night on a purple planet. A fluffy snake crawled into the house where a purple guy was sleeping. It bit him, and the purple guy decided to go to a hospital. He told the doctor everything. She looked at the guy attentively and told him the snake hadn't been venomous. How did she know that? It was 3:45 a.m. on the clock in the guy's room. Now it's 11:45 p.m. on the clock in the examination room. The purple guy has spent almost a day trying to get to the hospital. So far, nothing bad has happened to him, which means the snake was not poisonous. The king of a tiny planet has no heirs. But then, who will become the ruler of this world? To choose the best candidate, the king gives every inhabitant one seed. Whoever grows the most beautiful flower will get the planet, the king tells them. Come back in 2 months. 2 months later, everyone came back with beautiful flowers. Among hundreds of candidates, there was one girl with an empty pot, and her brother with the most beautiful flower. The king said they would rule the planet. Why them? All the seeds were fake, and the girl didn't want to deceive the king by replacing the seed. Meanwhile, her brother put a lot of effort into growing the most beautiful plant to achieve his goal. Rain falls upward in this world, cars move backward, broken glass repairs itself, pens erase words from paper, chickens hide back in the egg at the end of their life. So you get it, time runs backward here. But something is wrong in this world. What is it? Try to look beyond the picture you've just seen before answering. The correct answer is my voice. It's not reversed. Space monsters are chasing you inside an abandoned space station somewhere at the edge of a faraway galaxy. They're stretching their toothy tentacles towards you. Fortunately, you manage to jump into a rescue ship and get out of there. Suddenly, you realize that the ship has no brakes. There's an asteroid belt to your left. A small black hole is on the right, and a red star is in the middle. Which way should you choose? None of these. Don't forget that you can also fly up or down. You're in outer space. It's raining diamonds every day on this planet. The rays of the closest star that warms this world contain gold particles. Banknotes grow on trees. Seas glow green because the water is filled with emeralds. Despite all this wealth, people don't want to live here. Why? Gold particles in the air can damage human lungs within seconds. Money trees don't produce oxygen, and there are no fish in the water because of the emeralds. People simply can't exist there. It's a cold night. Dark city streets, lights of driving cars, sounds of sirens, loud voices, chilly air, wet asphalt. Are you ready to get rid of the crime in this city? Then remember to count your correct answers. November 4th, 2021. It's been raining for 3 days, but even this is not enough to wash away all the dirt of the city. For several hours, Detective Sadfist had been sitting in his car near the house of a Hollywood star. The detective is sure that someone is going to rob her house. The actress doesn't believe in this. In the distance, he sees a tall man in a hat. He approaches the door and knocks. The actress opens the door and greets the stranger. "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was my house," he says. It has a very similar design. The actress closes the door and the stranger leaves. The detective gets out of the car and arrests him because the man is a thief. Why is the detective so sure about this? If the stranger had really thought it was his house, he wouldn't have knocked on the door. He'd have tried to open it with a key. The detective takes the thief to the station. The rain is finally over. It promises to be a long night, so the detective goes to buy a coffee. At this moment, the radio reports an arson to the south of the central square. No time for coffee. Sadfist hits the gas pedal and drives to the place. He notices the flames from afar. 2 houses are burning. The detective notices several more police cars. A police officer tells him that one house belongs to a rich businessman. There's a lot of money inside. The owner of the second house is a poor artist. His paintings are burning now. Which house will the detective go to first to put out the fire? He's not a firefighter, so he won't approach either house. After watching the flames for a while, Detective Sadfist gets into his car and realizes he can't take it anymore. He needs some sleep. He doesn't want to go home because his house reminds him of her, and he doesn't need those memories at the moment. He decides to rent a hotel room. The detective asks the hotel administrator to wake him up at 7 a.m. Of course, the man says, but don't forget to call me first. Then I'll come to wake you up. One call will be enough. What does the detective need to do to make the lazy guy wake him up? He can set an auto call for 6:50 a.m. The detective enters the room and falls on the bed. At this moment, the door starts opening slowly. The faces of people he has thrown into jail appear out of the darkness. The detective sits up on the bed and the door slams shut. At first, Sadfist doesn't understand what just happened, but then he lets out a sigh of relief. It was just a nightmare. How has he figured it out? It's already light outside. It was dark when the detective checked into the hotel. That means he was asleep. A new day, a new case. The detective is going to the countryside. A girl has disappeared there. Sadfist intends to find her. He stops his car near 3 houses. They're located on the ocean beach. 3 roads lead to the houses. Sharp rocks and shards of glass cover the first road. The second road is swarming with snakes. Lava is boiling on the third road. Which path should the detective choose? The ocean will soon cool the lava and turn it into stone. The detective follows the third path. He enters the house and finds the missing girl there. She confesses that she stayed late at a party, and her mother was so worried that she called the police. Detective Sadfist arrives at an office building in the center of the city. He goes up to the top floor. Here, a rich banker is lying unconscious. Someone hit him on the head and stole important documents from his safe. There's a tape recorder on the banker's desk. The detective turns it on. The banker's voice comes from the microphone. "My nephew. He called me a few minutes ago and said he would break into my office and take my documents. I don't know what to do. If something happens to me, you should know. My nephew Michael is to blame. Oh no, I think I heard the elevator doors open. I think it's him. He's here." The recording ends. "We must find his nephew," one of the police officers says. "I don't think so. The nephew has done nothing wrong. The man just wanted to frame him," Sadfist answers. How did the detective figure that out? Someone rewound the tape in the recorder to the very beginning. It's unlikely that the nephew did it. He'd get rid of the recorder. The detective leaves the office, gets into the elevator, and meets an old concierge. They go down very slowly. The concierge looks attentively at the buttons. The detective asks him what's the matter. The concierge answers that 5 people live on the 35th floor. 3 live on the 20th floor. 4 people live on the 7th floor. And 7 people live on all other floors. The building has 40 floors in total. The concierge asks, which elevator button is pressed most often? What do you think? The answer is the first floor button. It's pressed by every resident. The detective gets into the car and drives to a cafe. He hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. He orders an omelet and opens a newspaper. There's a riddle on the front page. In the winter, a guy went to a nearby village to meet with his friends. He knew he needed to go through a forest, a small field, then a forest again, and only after that would he reach his goal. The guy started his journey. He went through the forest, the field, another forest. But then, he saw a big river. How can he cross it? The detective grins because he knows the answer. And what about you? It was winter. The river was frozen. A waiter approaches Sadfist and puts his omelet with coffee on the table. The detective eats, then calmly gets up from the table and heads to the kitchen. There,
He meets a masked robber. The detective arrests him. How did he know there was a criminal in the kitchen? Rob in kitchen was written on the coffee mug. The robber is detained by other police officers, and Sadfist goes back to his car. He has a new case. He arrives at an antique store. Some swindler has deceived the store owner and sold him a fake coin. The coin has a date on it, 175 BCE. It looks old. The analysis has shown that the coin is ancient. The store owner says he thought it was really made before the current era. How did he eventually understand the coin was a fake? People who lived before our era couldn't write BCE on their coins. Sadfist leaves the store. Oh no, his shoes are torn. The detective gets into his car and goes to a shoe store. He parks, gets out of his car, and he sees 3 stores. The best shoes in the city, the sign on the first building claims. The best shoes in the world is written on the second building. But the inscription on the third store is the best. Detective Sadfist smiles and goes there. What's written on the third store? The best shoes on the street. After doing some shopping, Sadfist drives down the street and sees a group of suspicious people standing next to a building under construction. The detective stops the car. People notice him and run away in the other direction. The detective runs after them. It seems they've managed to escape, but Sadfist doesn't think so. He calls for backup and tells the police he's caught a gang of hooligans. They're all hiding in a transformer box. How did the detective know that? After all, he lost sight of the hooligans at some point. The hooligans ran on uncured concrete and left footprints leading to the transformer box. Oh no! Now, Sadfist's new shoes are stained with wet concrete. The detective gets into the car and goes to the laundry. There he meets the owner, who finds out about another crime. The owner claims that someone has taken a huge amount of money from his safe. But the detective realizes that there was no thief. The owner stole the money himself to get compensation from the insurance company. Sadfist has noticed this laundry gets robbed too often, but the owner hasn't changed the locks or strengthened security yet. But how can the detective prove the money hasn't been stolen? There are banknotes in that washing machine over there. That's where the owner hid the money. Tired, the detective returns home. His apartment is a mess. Since she left him, the house has turned into a dump. A mouse squeaks somewhere in the room. Inspect the apartment and help Sadfist catch the rodent. See that box with a hole? It looks like the mouse has chewed through it. Sadfist catches the tiny animal, but does nothing to it. He decides it will be his pet. The detective's mood is as bad as it always is. But maybe checking your score will cheer him up. 0 to 3 points. Detective Sadfist has only gotten sadder because you haven't helped him much in his investigation. 4 to 7 points. Not bad for an ordinary private detective, but it's unsatisfactory for Sadfist, the best detective in the city. Next time, try to be more attentive. 8 to 10 points. Well, it's better, but still not good enough. It's like having eaten a burger and still feeling a little hungry. 11 to 14 points. Today, the city can sleep peacefully. You've helped the detective in almost all cases. He deserves his long-awaited rest. And you do too. Julie worked in a Prada store in New York. Everything there was expensive, and most clients paid by credit card. But one day, she got a client who got a purse, a wallet, and a dress. All that cost her $3,990. But the woman decided to pay in cash. Julie refused to sell the items to the client and called the police. Why? tried to use to pay. They are two $2,000 bills, which don't exist. The police of Atlanta were notified that a prisoner had escaped from Chicago and taken the plane to Atlanta. Of course, an officer was sent to the airport to find the prisoner and capture them. The police officer spotted 3 people who looked similar to the criminal. Take a look at the passengers. Which one should be arrested? The prisoner must be this guy. He's the only one who doesn't have any luggage with him. Probably because he was running away and had none. In a small town, a grand robbery happened. Someone robbed a jewelry store in the local mall. At 6:03 p.m., the lights in the whole mall went off for 8 minutes. When the lights came back on, the most expensive jewelry pieces were missing from the shelves. The police interrogated 3 main suspects. Jack said,
I was picking out a present for my son in an electronics store when the lights went off. I was so confused as anyone else.
Fred said, I wasn't even in the mall at the time. I have no idea what you're talking about. And Stacy said,
I was in the bathroom fixing my makeup. I didn't even notice the lights went out.
Who is the main suspect? It's Stacy. She said that she hadn't noticed that the light had gone out, but they went off everywhere, including the bathrooms. She would have noticed it, so she's lying. Ava has always wanted to get a cat, but her mom wouldn't allow her to have a pet. So, when one day she found a kitten on the street, she brought it home, but kept it a secret. She succeeded for 2 weeks, but one morning she went down to the kitchen.
Have you been hiding a cat in your room?
Her mother asked. How did she figure it out? Ava is wearing shorts. Her legs are all scratched, and these scratches are what gave her away. During Halloween, all kinds of creatures flooded a little town, blending in with the citizens. Weeks passed, but some of them stayed, pretending to be humans. The town's detective could catch the remaining ones. He's been tracking a vampire, and he has 3 suspects. All of them only come out at night. Which one of them is the vampire? This guy is pale, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's a vampire. This guy is wearing a silver chain, so he can't be one. But this guy doesn't have a reflection. This is definitely not a human. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not let inside any suspicious people or people below the age of 21. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who isn't supposed to enter the club. Okay, here's the first guest for you. What can you say about this man? Don't let him in. The person in the photo is totally different. It's not this guy's ID card. Okay, here's the next one. Keep your eyes wide open. Do you see anything suspicious? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, the next one. Check it out and make your decision. In or out? Las Vegas is written with a W. It's a typo, which is unacceptable for official documents. This ID must be fake. Here's the next guest for you to examine. What's your verdict? Will you let her in? She seems fine to me. It must be safe to let her in. What about this girl? Is anything off here? She seems fine to me too. Green light. Okay, the last guest. In or out? Look, the woman in the photo has a brown right eye and a green left eye. The real woman has a brown left eye and a green right eye. This is too suspicious. I wouldn't let her in. Amelia is a huge modern art enthusiast, and she wants to take her siblings to a new exhibition. A ticket for one person costs $18. A ticket for two costs $30. And a ticket for three costs $45. If she wants to pay as little as possible, should she invite her two siblings at once or go with each of them separately? It's cheaper if the three of them go together. It'll cost $45. If Amelia went with each of them separately, she would have to pay $30 twice, so she'd pay $60 in total. Ellery has a sweet tooth, and every Friday she goes candy shopping for the week. Tonight, she bought chocolate bars, jelly beans, and gummy bears. She has all chocolate bars but 2, all packs of jelly beans but 4, and all packs of gummy bears but 4. How many pieces of each type of sweets did she buy? Chocolate bars are all but 2, which means that there are 2 packs of jelly beans and gummy bears together. So there's 1 pack of jelly beans and 1 pack of gummy bears. Chocolate and gummy bears are 4 together, so there are 3 chocolate bars. Ailu is a fairy living in her magical forest. Every day, she takes the same route for a morning flight to the lake. One Friday, she was flying to the lake when she met some other creatures moving towards her. There were 2 elves, 3 fairies, and a gnome. How many creatures were going to the lake that Friday morning? Just Ailu. Everyone else was going in the opposite direction. Lily and Della are twin sisters. Both girls failed their history test at school, and their mother made them study all weekend. In the middle of the day, Mrs. McAdams came to check on the girls. Take a look at Lily and Della. Which of them hasn't been studying? Della, the book she's reading isn't a history book, it's physics. She must have grabbed the closest book as soon as she heard her mother's footsteps. A rich lady was booking into one of the best hotels in the city. When she got her key, she noticed that her bags had been stolen. The police interrogated 3 main suspects. Mr. Collins said, "I wouldn't steal anything. I'm rich. I live in the penthouse on the 20th floor." Mrs. Jones said, "I've just returned to the hotel. I've been out all day." And Mrs. Smith said, "I wouldn't steal anything. I have too much stuff myself." Mr. Collins seems shady. He can't live on the 20th floor because there are only 18 floors in the hotel. Amber participated in a game show, and she won. She got 3 exclusive gifts: a Givenchy purse, Armani sunglasses, and a Porsche. But here's a catch. She is to pick her presents herself by choosing between the original and a replica. You need to help her pick the correct prize. Here are 2 Givenchy purses. One of them is the original, and the other is a replica. Which one should Amber choose? This one, it has the correct logo, so it must be the original. Now, there are 2 seemingly identical pairs of sunglasses, but only one of them is the original from Giorgio Armani. Which one? this one, with the correct logo. And finally, the Porsche. Let's see if you remember their logo. Yes, this is the one. Great job.
Sophie is an art student. She's painting something really curious. It's a greenhouse. But there's a white house inside the greenhouse, and a red house inside the white house. And there are lots of cubs inside the red house. Can you guess what exactly Sophie is painting? She's painting a watermelon. It has a small white layer inside the green one. Also, its pulp is red and full of seeds. Sophie is walking down the school hallway and meets her best friend Paul. There's a huge stain of red paint on his stomach. Sophie asks him, "Paul, what happened here?" Paul replies, "I was walking to the classroom, but suddenly some mad students sneaked up behind me and splattered paint all over my back. And then he just teleported like a superhero." Sophie says, "Stop fooling around," and leaves. Why? Alex has a stain on his stomach, not his back. Therefore, it's a fake story. Sophie and her classmates are drawing a still life, but one of the students is an imposter. Can you guess who? This guy's work is nothing like what others are drawing, but it's not a crime. But this lady over here has a police badge in her pocket, which means she's probably working undercover. Sophie enters an auditorium. 3 of her 3 classmates are very busy. Julia is standing on a ladder and hanging pictures. Paul is carving a sculpture from marble. And Nina is filming Paul. Which one is in greater danger? Nina, the sculpture is cracked and it's about to fall on her. Sophie and Paul are making an experiment after classes. Both guys bring identical buckets with the same amount of water. But the temperature of Sophie's water is 25 degrees C, and the temperature of Paul's water is 25 degrees F. Simultaneously, they drop a coin into each bucket from the same height. The coins hit the water at exactly the same time. Can you guess which coin should touch the bottom first? The coin in Sophie's bucket. At 25 degrees C, water is liquid, while at 25 degrees F, it turns into ice. Sophie is walking down the pier. She spots a cute boat and decides to paint it. She asks the 2 guys standing nearby, "Who's the owner of this boat? Can I paint it?" Both guys like Sophie and want to impress her. So they both shout, "This is my boat." Can you help Sophie figure out the real owner? There's a blue jacket on the chair in the boat that matches the pants of the guy on the left. So, he's the owner. Sophie has painted a beautiful picture, and the boat owner wants to buy it. He gives her a box with gemstones. All but 2 are blue, all but 2 are green, and all but 2 are red. How many gemstones are in the box? He gave Sophie a total of 3 gemstones, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 red. Sophie visits Paul's house, and he offers her an apple that seems very delicious. She can't resist, but after taking a bite, Sophie finds a worm in the apple. Paul apologizes, but Sophie says, "Don't worry, it could be even worse." Can you guess what could be worse? Sophie could have found a half of worm. The next morning, Sophie enters the classroom. She sees Nina claiming that she had painted this portrait. Sophie gets furious and says, "You're a liar! It's my work!" Can you spot the real author? Nina signed this work in the right upper corner, but take a closer look at the lower left corner. We can still see the name Sophie under a layer of fresh paint. Therefore, Sophie painted this portrait. Sophie brings some of her recent works to an art gallery hoping to sell them. The dealer says, "Sorry, but we only sell antique drawings. They should be at least 300 years old." Sophie says, "Liar," and leaves. Can you guess why? Take a look at this painting. This elegant medieval lady has a sports car parked in her backyard. Sophie's brother Mike lives in the country with his wife. Sophie wants to visit them next weekend, but this week, Mike's wife is feeling very sick. Mike calls Sophie and says, "Sorry, we can't host you. My wife is sick. She might have appendicitis." Sophie replies, "This can't be true. I took your wife to the hospital 2 years ago myself, and she had her appendix removed." When diagnosed, Mike's wife was found to have appendicitis. Can you explain this mystery? It's possible because Mike had remarried and forgot to tell Sophie. Sophie is heading to the classroom and finds her art teacher, Mr. Wolf, unconscious on the floor. She takes him to the hospital. According to doctors, he has a severe allergic reaction. But Mr. Wolf insists that he hadn't eaten anything all day. Sophie interrogates everyone who was around Mr. Wolf that day. The cleaning lady says, "I wash the class in the morning. I only use organic and allergy-friendly products." Nina says, "I was painting vases in the classroom all day. Mr. Wolf was there too, but I didn't see him eating any food." And Paul says, "I saw Mr. Wolf in the library early in the morning. He was looking perfectly fine." Can you guess who caused Mr. Wolf's allergy? The cleaning lady. Although she used allergy-friendly products, she put the pencils in a jar with paint remover while cleaning his desk. Later that day, Mr. Wolf took one of these toxic pencils, chewed it, and got sick. Sophie returns back to the art school to prepare an exhibition. She's standing at the center of a ladder, preparing to hang a poster on the wall. She climbs up 6 steps, but suddenly the ladder begins to stagger, forcing her to come down 10 steps. Sophie asks Paul to hold the ladder and climbs 18 steps to the very top. Can you count the total number of steps on this ladder? Let's say that the middle step number is x. From the middle step, Sophie goes up 6 steps, which is x plus 6. Then she goes down 10 steps, and she's now at x minus 4. After that, Sophie goes up 18 steps, so she's now at x plus 14, or at the very top of the ladder. 14 steps from the top, plus 14 steps from the bottom, plus the middle step, and we get 29 steps. The art exhibition is going well. Hundreds of people came over to see it. Suddenly, someone cuts the power for a moment, and when it's back again, Sophie sees that the most expensive sculpture is missing. Can you help her find the thief? This elegant lady on the left. Her bag is looking full now, and it's hanging on the opposite shoulder. 3 art dealers approach Sophie during the exhibition to offer collaboration. Isabella shows her a picture of a beautiful villa on her phone and says, "Young lady, you must come to my art residence in Italy this summer. I'm ready to cover all your expenses." Sebastian says, "Darling, I'd love to buy 2 of your paintings for my private collection. Do you accept checks? And Tina says, I have a new book coming out this fall. Would you like to draw illustrations? Only one of these deals is not fake. Can you help Sophie figure out which one? There are Hollywood Hills in the background of this villa, so it's definitely not in Italy. Therefore, Isabella is a liar. Sebastian acts like he's wealthy, but at the same time, he's trying to steal Tina's phone, so he's probably a scammer. Therefore, Sophie should accept Tina's offer. Sophie gets her first salary and goes to the jewelry shop to treat herself. The shop owner, Maya, complains, there were several thefts in my shop this week. Sophie offers to help find the thief. First of all, she watches security camera videos. Very soon, she spots who is stealing the jewelry. Can you see him? Or her too?